I was able to describe a very impressive project to people who have never heard of this being done before. It was fun and challenging, and to be inside the world, inside of a painting or a world to interact with objects in that realm, as well as the physical world, that added a whole new level of innovation. I took rigorous notes on what it takes to meet this type of demand and agreed to merge the content for the sake of this newly designed curriculum that I was still working on. But this is just a preview of how in the physical space they built something as you carry on through the virtual space. So there we go. I believe that was, let me make sure that, yes, okay. The next thing I know, I'm pouring all of this data from all of the teams, individuals and organizations, into a consensual set of standards. So working with Stephen from his perspective of ArcViz and education, we were able to solidify our plans for the grant and move forward. So all of those talks I did for developers and talking about, how we, introducing the idea of shared libraries, it was really, really paid off. It was very helpful in building this content. So Coastal Alabama Community College was awarded a grant under the National Science Foundation for our new XR and Enterprise Training Degree program. And it now exists as an Associate of Applied Science in Dynamic Reality Technology. So that's what we named it. And anyone who aims to raise the standards for the XR field apply directly to education and training, and young professionals can actually become a partner. We took the sharing content and contribution, needless to say, to a whole new level. And as I continue to work in the fields, network, and attend events, I can help fine tune our class content in training and sharing for XR. So there we go. But this also means, as a co-principal investigator, to attend and participate in events and talks where the industry grows or needs growth. Karen Snyder, a professor for TYM Studios, a transmedia professor, producer at TYM, and a professor at University of Houston, incubated a lot of my ideas for how to grow the industry. She offered hers up as well, and together we assisted one another in both the grants and the events that she's produced. And now information flows both ways. Yet again, my interpretation of Nash equilibrium is demonstrated here. The Healthcare Games Showdown displayed a new formula for marketing simulations, game development, in events and internship as well, in all one fell swoop. So Karen is now working on the XR Showdown event as set for the spring with ExxonMobil. So it was a very fun event. Oh, and it will be on Amazon this winter. So the question is, as to why I'm here too, in terms of assets created, scenes distributed, used and modified, tutorials followed, actual AR, VR, or MR geolocations, who owns a virtual space? And that is now the question that I'm being asked. Actually, it's pretty often now. Practical, a startup in the XR and crypto space, had asked this question and attempted to answer it by demonstration. In their gateway, mixed reality, spatial mapping, and build application, they created a data pool to show the need for design and developer tools in this space. The actual physical maps generated by this tool were fair game. The tools themselves were not. The tools were built so that any developer for mixed, augmented, or virtual reality could run their geolocation app in a shared space. However, that would cost them not only to the use of their tools, but to run their application in space independently of other applications, occupying a single location at that exact time. So it was an innovative solution. Pre-Magic Leap Layers announcement, just so you know, if you ever look this up, that would produce shared virtual real estate at reasonable membership monthly costs and crypto earned from that mapping. A user would essentially, excuse me, have access to the updated tools, gain currency to purchase that space to run their application, simply by sharing their assets and maps with other members and experiencing the application itself over time. So This was a part of it's an infographic as a part of our the contest that they ran. Of course, I was on the team. R&D showed an astounding number of time spent in space scanned by several users. This includes the 1,910,632 square feet mapped with the application tools, satisfying the most prominent feature that best illustrates the movement towards asset libraries or cloud sharing is the point cloud data produced, converted mesh, and shared with the user, all in one. It was a feature that was added not long after the contest to enable users to quickly share assets from the practical cloud live directly to another user so that they may instantly place the asset shared from the other user into their environment and interact with it. The file format was custom and created for universal sharing, it's listed as .pid or practical immersive delivery file. So the winners of the application contest, we were opening up the SDK through data pool assessment, marketable dissemination, contributed a wealth of feedback for this experience, along with loyal members that were given access to a locked SDK to assist in future code development. Unfortunately, the company shuttered in early January 2019. Their promotional video was never shared. I do have permission to share it. And it was an amazing and informative experience to take part in building this with the team. So now I know more about live sharing and asset library sharing as well. If I may play a short clip highlighting this.
Today, our digital world is trapped in screens. We sit at a desk or we sit in a chair to consume the majority of our digital content. And digital doesn't understand anything around us. Going into this next frontier, digital needs to start to understand our world. What's about to happen is we won't need screens anymore for digital. The possibilities are endless then. We're on a mission to map the world, and Prax acts as the simplification of the crypto user experience. And what these do is these incentivize users to walk around the location and map the world. We'll go from mapping places to mapping objects. We'll go from mapping objects to mapping actions. Get ready when Prax launches later this year. Go to prax.practicalvr.com and check it out. The future's coming. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the philosophy behind the promotion of this endeavor. The CEO has moved on to other projects, but his vision was referencing a refreshing glance, at the future, to say the least. Yet the competition for spatial mapping, unfortunately, and fortunately for them, for holographic persistent tools was far too great for this company to compete with. So it does happen, of course, in the startup space. Nope, you're good. So, Practical asked a really good question. Who owns virtual space? A common question and the point of my talk. The question remains, as does, a lot of the answers that I'm trying to seek for this as well, that I'm going to also funnel into the information for our grant. What does virtual space mean? Does it mean assets, content created for an experience? Does it mean user interface approach, user experience stories, what? And how does cloud sharing apply to this question? The following are examples from my design perspective. Other artists are prone to feel differently, of course, based on the material, but this is the consensus that I'm gathering. So your own personal content, say from when you apply a user agreement for Creative Commons. Also, you own any content that you've used as a foundation and built upon. You own content that you reverse engineered and built upon. You own an application that runs at a certain location and all the material assembled as a whole. The exceptions, if any, of the integrated material had come from a copyrighted source. So of course, anything from a AAA game, even if it's fan art, if you create it and you're going to have, oh, yes, we're almost done. Trying to keep track of time. Did I disconnect?
You're back.
Okay, we're back. Awesome.
We can't see your slides, Angel.
Yes, yes. That's yes. I'm getting to the next one here. The question is still being answered, and I do urge people not to share assets freely that they're not willing to let go of. So the reason for my first point is someone can alter it enough to make it a new original piece. Anything that anybody had shared throughout my journey, as I described through this entire endeavor that I've been on, you know, they take in good faith that I would be able to take that information and create content from it. Does that content belong to me? Well, originally, yeah, in a presentation, of course. But anybody could basically go to any of these talks or take any information from this journey and actually create based on that. And that's sort of the same concept as well with 3D art in a library. You know, essentially any object in existence has a silhouette. If it is easily reproducible, expect variations and iterations. My best example is take an IKEA chair from a friend's dining room and decide to create a 3D asset with it in a simulation. I don't really suppose that IKEA will see it and come kicking down my door for royalties. Why? Because it's become digital content. Lighting and use and context also add to the alteration. So this is something to keep in mind when engaging in cloud sharing. Now, entire scenes and environments can be recreated from a physical reference. So there is an agreement with the architect that no one could ever recreate a digital version of this and distribute the experience. The question remains, however, if another developer or designer recreates your digital content to use for theirs, of course, there must be an agreement or permission given according to the games industry. So how does that apply to a shared space? Only you can answer that based on what you learn or know about digital content and distribution and the policies of your organization, institution, or company. So I'll leave you with this last slide. I have like literally 2 more slides. This last slide is important. So when you're building any asset conversion tools, or tools to automate a scene that you're building for XR. Those are important to note that, you don't want to open up too much from that. So for the SDK for Practical, for example, they only opened up part of that SDK to help developers continue building in that space without releasing too much that they were not ready to let go of and have somebody else, recreate. So let's see. Last one is, let's see, use at your own risk. So this is kind of where I start to wrap it up, and I want to kind of quickly just have this slide displayed. This is important. So when you're creating your user agreement for cloud sharing.
I can't see anything right now. Is that okay?
Yeah, we don't see your slide.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, we've got a shared screen issue. I know we're running short on time, but
It's there now.
it's there? Okay. I think my wrong screen, and there we go. And here are my notes. So while I have my notes up, so we'll go ahead and, yeah, this is not how I imagined this presentation.
We don't see it.
Hey,
Yeah, we're
okay.
We're seeing the slide only.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're only seeing the slide part of the presentation.
Oh, the only slide, the slide and the note. Oh, you're not seeing the notes.
I think we've lost the video as well.
Oh, you've lost the video. Well, I'll go ahead and wrap this up by saying this is definitely an important slide to keep in mind when you're assembling your user agreement. Definitely, you want to relieve yourself of any other liability that could cause anyone else while sharing any damage to their project as well. Aside from technical difficulties, I'd say that went pretty smoothly. We'll go ahead and skip some things to remember. I did have extra slides that I meant to put in an entirely different section, so you'll have to forgive me for that. There we go. Now, we're at the Q&A, if we even have any time for that.
Here, we have a couple minutes.
Okay.
Here comes a question.
Thank you for your presentation, Angel. I appreciated your focus on collaboration and sharing. And I'm wondering, concluding here with topics of the balance of sharing and owning and liability, what do you see as sort of the next generation or next frontier of shared assets?
Oh, I believe very strongly that live sharing is, 3D assets or even scenes is going to be one of the next steps. Also, any procedural modeling tools. So 3D modeling is becoming less of an art and more of a technical skill through procedural modeling. So as producing content in a space as an artist becomes far more expensive, more small companies as well as institutions or even large AAA companies are going to turn to more of these libraries, universal file systems like Alembic, they already have that, or immersive delivery as XR, the XR space in particular. Microsoft already has, the ability now in their HoloLens 2 to grab the object and place it in their environment, but to have a delivery from user to user, I would imagine that they're still probably working on that, as many are in the space. So, and my guesstimation on that, probably within the next 2 to 5 years, that it's going to be massively in demand, especially with AR glasses. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Yes, good. We have another question.
Hi, Angel. Thanks for the talk. I'm curious how you think this sort of sharing of visual assets will be impacted by the prevalence of photogrammetry in real world scanning. So do you think there's going to be some maybe
I'm sorry, one more time, related to share, is the topic, am I hearing that correctly, sharing with photogrammetry assets?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay, so with photogrammetry and scans, that's high poly sharing. So I would imagine that library would become really, really massive. Some scans could be millions of polys, up to 7 million polygons. There's several tools like Simplygon, Instalod is another tool, InstaLOD. So they're a company in the UK, and they actually produce conversion, and you could use this for AutoCAD files as well to convert them to a more digestible format, not only for the server, but for the game engine as well. The impressive feature for a tool such as that to use to convert, scans to your library and to make them more compressed. You reduce the poly count. This tool has actually watched it bring an asset that has over 7 million polygons down to from 7 million to 47,000, I believe, in a matter of 72 seconds. It's incredible. So knowing your tools and being able to convert your scans to save time and space and energy later if you want to bring that same asset into XR and view it right in front of your face. That is the best tool for that, if that helps. But that is a lot of people want to bring in their scans, especially the medical industry.
Great, thank you. And any other questions? All right, I think that's we're good here. So thank you, Angel.
Oh, thank you.